Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar this morning, specifically going towards these 911 dispatch communication centers. My name's Eric. I'm the host this morning. I'm a system specialist here at Aladtec. And what we're going to do is we're going to be walking through the system a little bit. I'll point out a few things that might be important for you as you're looking at maybe coming on board with Aladtec and partnering with us for your scheduling solution. So we'll go through the walkthrough. We'll talk a little bit about the member database, some of the schedule views, even some customizable reports and forms. And then we've got some opportunities for Q&A. If you do have any questions along the way, David is our moderator this morning, and you can type those into the chat, and he'll be able to respond to those questions that you might have as we go through things. But definitely, our goal here is to introduce you to Aladtec. If you've already seen it, really maybe kind of show you a few things that might have been updated since you looked last. And then if you're interested in taking a look at a custom demo, we'd love to set that up for you. That would be your own people and schedule plugged in to the system. So let's take a look at the system overview, and we'll go right and jump right into it. Just a little bit about us. We've been around for a number of years. I think back in 2002 was the first opportunities. We are completely cloud-based, nothing to download or install. You just simply pull up the browser of the device, and then it will format to whatever screen. We do recommend modern browsers, anything like Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, I think 11 and above, Edge, Safari, anything that'll automatically update itself since we're constantly pushing out new features and functionality. We want you to have the best and brightest information right in front of you. And so as you're logging into the system, you'll be able to come right to the home screen. Everybody does have their own login and password credentials, so they're able to see their own view standpoint with the things that are pertaining to them. And then as we take a look at the home screen, it's very customizable. You can add in a graphic, you can add in some links, even some instructions on how to do a few different things. Very customizable on that home screen. And as we dive in to the system, and I want to first point out our dashboard. I'll show you a few things that we'll talk about here in the upcoming minutes. So just a few things about the system. We do have 4 things that are built right into the system. So we do revolve everything around the schedule. So we are first and foremost a scheduling application. Those 4 things are what we call our change requests. So as we've built out the system, the schedules, and as people are starting to log in and use it, the 4 things that will cause any changes to those schedules is our time off. So we do have a time off management piece. Members would be able to go in, log into the system, see their schedule, request time off. We even have banks of hours. So if you do have any accrual banks, we can add those accrual profiles in there, and it'll automatically dump that number of hours into their bank. So time off management piece, first and foremost. Secondly, if you do allow trading of shifts, the system will allow you to trade, have your members trade shifts, and then you'd get that final approval as the time swaps on the schedule. The third thing is something that's in the future we call signups. So when you have an open shift, whether it be for a vacancy or for overtime, or maybe you've got a special event that you're staffing, you can allow your members to log into the system and then to sign up for those specific opportunities. So you'll be able to sign up for those, then you'd be either set that to automatically approve, or you can also set it up to where administrator approval, where you'd be able to define the rules that you'd have in place and award that to whoever would be up next or whatever may be. With that signups, we also do have our coverage alerts. It allows you to blast out a text and email notification that you're looking for someone to cover, and you can even set up some specific rules for those as well. And the last thing, the 4th thing in our change request, is our extra hours. So if you've ever been held past your normally scheduled shift, maybe you got called in early, you need a mechanism to submit that to the administrator. So then you'd work that, and then you've submitted it. Maybe some people might call it an overtime slip, or if they came in on their day off and they worked, whatever it may be, you need a mechanism to submit those requests for approval. So that's our extra hours request in the system as well. All those will come here. As we take a look at things as an administrator, you'll see things that are waiting for your attention. We'll also take a look at maybe a better workflow as we take a look at the work schedules. We also have a very robust member database. It can keep track of all kinds of information, including contact information, emergency contact information. We can keep track of certifications, licenses, immunizations, anything you can think of that you wanted to keep track of for a specific individual. We can build out the member database in order to do that. So this will show you if there's anything that's expired or expiring. We also have an events calendar. Think of this as the non-working calendar. Things like meetings, training opportunities, PR events, open houses, nights out, anything that you can think of. We're trying to be that one place where you would go for a majority of your information, especially when it revolves around your personnel and your schedules. So as we take a look at some of those things, dive a little deeper. Definitely, David's right there ready for you. So if you have any questions along the way as I go through these, don't be afraid to type those questions in that questions box. So the first thing I want to point out is our customization. So our system is extremely customizable. Everything that we're looking at today, you can do. We can also help you. So the member database configurator, you can build out the database, keeping track of whatever fields that you wanted to keep track of. You can even drag and drop things from the left-hand side if you want to add a certification expiration. Typically, we pre-populate it with certain pieces of information, and then you're able to even remove things. So if you didn't want to keep track of any certifications, you can remove those sections. One of the things that does set us apart is we don't just pass along a piece of software and you're on your own to figure it out. We walk with you every step of the way, where we would actually schedule a setup call after you had decided to move forward. And then we fine tune the member database. We can pull in some additional information, and then we fine tune the setup area prior to rollout. So as we configure that database, we understand several different things. Once you've configured the database, then it becomes managing the data itself. First and foremost, it is your data. Anytime you need to get that information out of the system, you can export that information out into a CSV. So if that's in order to populate some state records or to transfer information from one system to the other, or just for archiving purposes, you can get that information out very easily. And then it also is an active database. So it does have the ability to do several different things, including filtering options. So if you had specific specialties or you wanted to drill a list down to specific groups of people, you can easily filter those lists out. We also have the ability to send out text and email notifications right from the system. So it does have that communications piece that is built right in. So nothing that you have to go looking for, a group messaging option or some other application. You can do it right from the system itself. And it's also very easy to manage the data. You can do some inline editing, making some changes to each person's record. You can even go in and you can edit that member specifically right from here. So one of the things to also keep in mind as far as the database goes, if you are interested in taking a look at a custom demo, you can send us a copy of your roster, a copy of your schedule, and we will get that information plugged into the system. So as people are maybe transitioning from one system to the other, or one vendor to the other, we can actually go in and we can pull the information and import it into our system, so that you don't have to do a bunch of data entry. So our typical rollout process from start to finish, as far as when someone decides they want to become a customer, to implementation is typically about 2 to 4 weeks. So we can get you up and running pretty quickly as we're able to pull in that information from some spreadsheets or some additional information from there. And then let's take a look at the schedules. So the schedules are opportunities for you to look at the same data in a different fashion. So we can default it to one different type of view, but you will have other views that you can take a look at. The monthly calendar view is probably the most popular. You will see several pieces of information when it comes to those monthly calendar or weekly shifts or a daily view. They will all show the same type of information, just in a different fashion. So if we take a look at today, a couple of things you'll notice. Here's how time off would display on the system. So in this case, Tom has taken the afternoon off, and so it shows that he's off, and so is Tracy. And you'll also see that there's an open shift here. So if that's something that you need to backfill, or you need to staff, or maybe Sandra or whoever may be staying late, or somebody coming in early, it will show you all of those details because it does revolve around those schedules. So members, when they submit that time off, once it gets approved, it shows up on the system itself, and then you've got that open shift. You'll also see we do have minimum staffing. So if you wanted to set up the system to alert you if you've dropped below your minimums, you can set that up first and foremost, and it'll flag it each time that you've dropped below those minimums. You'll also see those signups. So in this case, Elaine and Herb have signed up for those open shifts, and so you can approve it from here. You can take a look at the hourly editor and approve it. You also can blast out a coverage alert for any of those open shifts. So maybe you're looking to find a supervisor for the evening shift on Friday. You can blast out that coverage alert, and it's going to blast out that text and email, allow members to sign up for those. You'll notice how the events would show up. Any trades would show up in a green color. Any extra hours would show up in a gray. So from any of those work schedule views, they are printable. So you can still print off a copy if you needed to. We'll take a look at a couple of other views. The daily summary view is a great snapshot of the day of who's working where. All your schedule names on the left-hand side, the positions, and then the members filling those positions. Weekly shifts view is actually one of my favorites. It shows you kind of a week at a glance. You can see your openings pretty quickly and easily, and then you can blast out any of those coverage alerts or do some filling of those shifts. So very easy to see all of those details as far as the schedules go, and whatever schedule view that you gravitate towards, whatever you're accustomed to or whatever fits your need, you can default that. But any of the work schedule views you can still print off as you need to. For the members, and this is a great opportunity to show you from a member's perspective. So if we log in as Frankie, a couple of things I'll point out is from the member side, it's very easy to navigate the system. When they log in with their own login and password credentials, they're able to see the dashboard on the right-hand side, any of their upcoming shifts, any events that are pertaining to them, as well as any trades that are available on the trades board. And then by default, the members don't have access to the entire member database. You can open it up if you'd like to through a use of an access level. But then they'd be able to go right to their My Info page to see their own information first and foremost. They're able to update their own contact information. They can choose how they want those messages delivered. We even have an upcoming shift reminder to blast out a notification 24 hours before their shift. So very easy to utilize the updating of their own information. Now, as I mentioned, we can pre-populate it with the information that you would pass along to us, but then they can keep their information up to date, and then they'd be able to kind of really keep their information up to date. If there's any changes they need to address, that way you don't have to do all of those changes. And then when they click on schedules, they're able to see the monthly calendar view, in this case, the default. And then what they would be doing is primarily going to the My Schedule page to interact with the system. So in this case, they'd be able to click on a scheduled shift, and then they can initiate a time off request, or they can initiate a trade request right from here. If there were any open shifts that they could sign up for, they can go ahead and click on those and sign up for those. We even have notes associated with those change requests. They can even have this sync up with their home calendar, spouse's calendar if they'd like to. So it'll automatically sync their work schedule with their home calendar. So very easy to log into the system and use it as a member. And from their standpoint as well, they're able to take a look at their own report, see their own schedule, their own information, their own details. We are also very mobile friendly, nothing to download or install. You just simply pull up the browser of your device, whether it be an iOS or an Android, and it will automatically format to the mobile dashboard. So Frankie can see any upcoming shifts that he might have, or in this case, any trades, open shifts, time off, and events. And then they can click on those three little bars to see a daily summary view, a snapshot, okay, who's working today. You can choose whatever day you would like to see. And then this is also where they'd be able to interact even via mobile. So they can click on that scheduled shift and initiate that time off request, or initiate that trade request. Or they can go in and can submit extra hours or whatever additional information that they would like to from here. So very mobile friendly. You don't have to download anything from the app stores. You also don't have to keep any data on your phone. So it's accessing the internet. It just is going to need an internet connection in order to function. So very easy and very mobile friendly. So as we go through a couple of additional things, I did want to throw out there just maybe a poll to see, let's kind of see what kind of information we have from some of the attendees today. How about we best, how do you currently manage? We'd love to know that. So you'll see a poll, a quick poll that pops up. Feel free to choose one of those options if you're using that currently, and that way we can know kind of what's going on with some of our attendees today. I'll just give you a couple seconds there to fill that out. All right, thank you for your responses. As we move to some additional things in the system, one of the things I want to do is kind of target that administrator. So as an administrator, we'll look at the tools that are available for them. And when I say administrator, I mean anybody that can approve any of those change requests, anybody that can adjust the schedules, accessing the system, seeing kind of that overview of supervisory types of people. They'll have these tools available to them. The first one I want to point out is our repeats and rotations tool. So if you do have any types of patterns of work, so maybe you've got a 2-week pattern, maybe you work Wednesday and Thursday of this week, Monday and Tuesday next week, and every other weekend type of pattern. We can set the system up and we can actually schedule them out all the way out till December 31st, 2023 in this case. And then once you've built out those schedules based on those patterns, really becomes managing the day-to-day. If you have very complex schedule types of patterns, we have found that we have been able to be able to build our system and to do those patterns on just about anything that we've ever seen. And so you can do several different types of weekly patterns. We can add in some custom types of rotations in the system. And then once, or maybe you've got some people that are just the Monday through Fridays types of administrative staff. You can schedule them out. So think of the repeats and rotations as a pattern-based scheduling, kind of their permanent schedules. And then the hourly editor is really where the supervisors and the admin staff are managing the day-to-day. So from here, you're able to take a look at a 24-hour window of your schedule. You're also able to pull in some additional information if you'd like to see certain work schedules. Maybe you want to track a calculator of how much information or how many hours people are working. Maybe you even wanted to pull in some member database information, maybe even some seniority. You can easily format this for your own view. I do want to mention part of that setup and part of that rollout process is we do offer a free training workshop. So what we do is it's a very similar type to a webinar, but it's more interactive, and we really teach you how to use the system rather than giving you kind of an overview. Now I will say that our system is easy enough and very user-friendly enough to where you don't have to have a training workshop, but we do offer it, and even offer it during your time of being a customer. So in 6 months, if you've hired some additional administrative staff, you don't have to worry about training them. You can call us up and we can help you set those training times up as well. So as I mentioned, we don't just pass along a piece of software and you're on your own to figure it out. We want to walk with you every step of the way, and hands down, our support department is the best feature that we have in our company. So when it comes to the hourly editor, a couple of other things you can do. You can actually do some dragging and dropping. So you have the ability to manage the schedule. So if you wanted to drag and drop somebody from one position to the other. Now, right now, this is just some generic information and this generic schedule names and positions. If you wanted to be more specific with those or whatever you would call them, you can easily do that. Or maybe you needed to move somebody from one schedule to the other. You can easily make those changes from here as well. Also, as an administrator, you might get a call out, and maybe somebody's saying, "Oh, I'm going to be going home here. I'm not feeling well." You don't have to have them go in and submit something. If you wanted, they just wanted to contact a supervisor, an administrator. The administrators have the ability to submit time off for someone as well. So if we just take Ronald, for instance, if he's going to be going home here at noon, we can just put Ronald off for the rest of the day. You get to choose whatever type of time off. This is very customizable. You can label those exactly what you need to. And then this is where you'd be able to also see if you do have any types of hours in your bank currently, or whatever additional information. So you're actually approving the time off. No additional step. You can even type a note here. Ron wasn't feeling well, and then that's all you need to do in there. So very easy to manage the day-to-day using the hourly editor. If you need to staff for that and you need somebody to come in early, you can actually just go ahead and schedule them. So let's say I wanted to schedule someone for that particular time. Perry said he'd come in and just cover those extra couple of hours. I can just schedule Perry right in there. So very easy to manage the schedules on the day-to-day. You'll also notice that minimum staffing will flag it. So the hourly editor is very easy to use. We help you learn how to use it, and it's very powerful. So managing those schedules on the day-to-day itself. I wanted to throw out another quick poll. So let's let kind of share a little bit of what kind of people are involved in the webinar today, and maybe what kinds of how many members that you have that you're scheduling on a monthly basis. So go ahead and fill out that poll as we move into a couple of different areas. All right, I appreciate that information. As we show you just a few other things in the system, hands down, the number one thing that our system does is transparency. That's a huge buzzword that we hold near and dear to our heart. So in the case of any change requests, so any of those time off trades, extra hours, and signups, every action of those are logged in our change request log. So you'll know exactly who did what. So if you do have some supervisors that you allow to manage the schedules, you'll be able to know a date and timestamp of who has approved or what has been canceled or anything in the system when it comes to those change requests. Along that same lines, our system log is hands down the number one feature in our system. Every action is logged, so you know exactly who did what in the system. So you can even drill it down, the action taken by, who was affected. So very easy to give you an audit trail, especially in the case of someone that might have a grievance or ask a question about something. They thought they did this. You want to know exactly what had happened in the system. You can drill it down with that system log. And then as we take a look at the reports, several different types of reports. They are completely customizable. You can click on that edit link and you can turn certain things on and off. You can do some filtering types of options. You can even choose whatever types of range that you wanted to see. All of our reports are printable and exportable, so you can export those out into a CSV or a spreadsheet. The summary report here is a very good report when you're running it for a longer period of time. So if you're getting ready to hire some additional staff, or you need to staff some additional people and you need to prepare a report for either a board or a committee, you can go in, you can run a custom range. Let's say you want to run a custom range for all of the time off that you've paid out this last year. You can go in, you can run it for that custom range for that entire year to pull up all of those details of how much time off. So very easy when it comes to a summary report of showing you all the specific numbers. It really kind of shows you that the format of kind of a spreadsheet, once again, printable and exportable. Our scheduled time report is really geared towards those that need to know start and stop times, as well as schedules and positions. This once again allows you to format if you want to pull in any extra hours. Maybe you've got an overtime threshold you wanted to use. You can even split out weekends and weekdays. Even pull in some member database information. So if you want to pull in employee ID numbers or anything of that nature, you're formatting the report to show you exactly what you want to see. And then you can either print that out if you're still doing manual entry for your payroll software, or you can export that out. We even have the ability to get that information out of our system, and then several different softwares out there give that ability to import that CSV file. One other report is one of our newest ones. It's our payroll report. So if you are interested in using our system for payroll purposes, this gives you more flexibility when it comes to formatting the payroll report in order to use it for either specific vendors or different types of files, or maybe you need to just have certain fields that you don't want to pull into that report. It gives you very customizable options when it comes to preparing that information for payroll. And once again, you can export that out into CSV, or you can print that off, and several different options when it comes to viewing that information. Included in our system, you do have 200 gigabytes worth of storage, a great place to store any things like SOPs, contracts, training files, videos, training videos, materials, anything you can think of. Since we are completely cloud-based, nothing to download or install, you can pull it up from any internet connected device. So you're able to use that storage how you see fit. Also included in our system is our forms tool. It is an electronic forms tool. What this allows you to do is to create an electronic form for your members to fill out, and then you'll be able to run reports for that. So there are several different sample forms that we have. We're even getting ready to gear up for adding additional sample forms here over the next few months that you'll be able to see. But these are just some standard forms. You can see how those would show up in the system. If you wanted to design your own, it is very easy to use. So you can just drag and drop from the left-hand side and pull that information in there. So once someone fills out a form, let's do, like, for instance, maybe somebody's got some equipment problems. You can actually use our form to fill that out. So you can type in all the information needed, fill out the date, whatever time it is, whatever, maybe your CAD, your console number 1 or 1, 2, 3, any information details in here. Just filling out the information, your members can fill that out, and then you can actually submit that. So every form then dumps out its own report. So I can take a look at the equipment problems and to see any trends. Maybe I've got one console that is really having an issue with their CAD software, and you can track all of those details down. You can even set up the system to trigger a notification if there have been certain things that have been submitted. But as I mentioned, several different types of sample forms. That's one of the benefits. We even have COVID screening forms that you can utilize, entry-level interview questions, incident reports, PO requests, anything that you can kind of think of when it comes to if you're doing something on paper, or if you're using some other system, you can bring everything in under that one umbrella of the Aladtec system. That is included, the forms tool is included in our system. A couple of last little features that I wanted to point out. One is our required messages. So if you've ever sent an email or a text and no one has ever responded, you weren't sure if they received that information, this gives you the ability to post a message. We're obviously hoping, since we're a scheduling software, to be that one place where you'd go for a majority of information. Your members are logging in quite frequently too. So if I wanted to post a message for Frankie's home screen, the next time Frankie would be able to log into the system, notice it posts that required message, so they can't get any further into the system itself until they have checked this checkbox that says, I agree that I've read and understood this message. Now, I can't guarantee they've read it or understood it, but in some way, shape, or form, they are accountable for that. So once they click continue, now they can get into the rest of the system. And then they're able to go right into even see any previous required messages. And then you've got a date and time stamp of when those were read. So great for things like policies and procedures, friendly reminders, just any information that you wanted to have kind of a read receipt for. That required messages is a great opportunity, especially, I've seen it used a lot with our customers in that communications side. And then a few things from the setup area that I wanted to point out. As I mentioned, that setup call, when we fine tune the member database, we'd fine tune the setup area. We want to help you go through this list and know what kinds of things you need to have ready prior to your go live date. So you can make some changes to all of the setup area. We do have the ability to create those access levels and give people permission to do things. Set up some coverage alerts. So if you do have any kind of rotating list and you like the system to notify one person at a time based on your rules, you can set those up. We can add in things like holidays that you'd observe, so to earmark on the schedules and in the reports. It's also very easy to create schedules. If you want to rename schedules, if you want to add temporary schedules, if you have a schedule that only exists for one day, you can easily create that schedule, and once you're done with it, you can archive it. So if you do any types of special staffing or any kinds of special events, or maybe training, maybe you have training every spring and you want people to sign up for training, you can create that training schedule as we did and allow your members to sign up for those training opportunities. Customizable as far as the time off goes. We can even create those accrual profiles, and that just allows you to automatically dump a certain number of hours in their bank. So let's say on a monthly basis, they get 1 hour of personal time dumped into their bank. You can easily set the system up, and then even the profiles to determine if there's differences between years of service or other things like that. We also do have the ability to create time types. Think of that as anything that's regular and anything else. That allows you to differentiate. If you differentiate between different types of overtime, or maybe you have grant monies or other types of time that you need to earmark on the schedules and the reports, you're allowed to use the time types in order to be able to do that. And then our work groups allows you to differentiate some rules. So if you do have, combination department that has full-timers and part-timers, you can even keep your part-timers from working too many hours. You can restrict them so you're not having to, pay any benefits pay or things like that, and keep those in check. You can even set some restrictions for any of those change requests in the system as well. As I mentioned, we do cover this during our setup call. So that's definitely one thing that you can at least take a look at if and when you wanted to take a look at a custom demo. Last thing I'll point out is our help section. We have great videos that we have added to the system. These are for the administrator mostly as reference. During our training workshop, we do cover several of these videos. But if there's any questions that you have even while you're trialing the system, or maybe 6 months down the road, don't sit through a 3 to 5 minute video to answer those questions. Hands down, the number one feature of our company is our support team. You can give us a call at our 888 number anytime that you're a customer, and we can answer those questions that you might have. Or if you'd rather shoot us an email, maybe you've got some changes. Our support hours, Monday through Friday. We even have an emergency line that we staff on an on-call basis. You can even chat with us. So support is hands down that great feature that is included with our system. So as I mentioned before, as I mentioned at the start of this webinar, our goal is that you see something that's compelling enough that you would like to take a look at a custom demo. I encourage you to reach out to us, call that 888 number and talk to one of our sales team, and we can set up even a discovery call where we learn more about what kinds of needs that you might have. And then we can even set up that custom demo for you and allow you to test drive that to see if it's going to be a good fit. So I thank you so much for your time, and we're going to take a look at some of the questions that we might have. If there were any questions, or if David had any that he wanted to tackle as well. So I appreciate your time, and as I mentioned, don't be afraid to call that 888 number and dive a little deeper. Take a look at a custom type of demo of our system. All right, a couple of questions that I might have here. One that I'll pass along. Ability to automate the hiring of overtime. So that's a great question, and I'd want to go into that question in depth. So one of the things that we do have the ability to do is we have the ability to create coverage alerts. So you can either blast out text and email notifications all at once, or you can actually set up the system to maybe you want to offer it to the person with the most seniority first. So what that'll do is it'll allow you to stagger a notification, send it out to one person at a time. Maybe you've got a rotating list, and then what it'll do is it'll blast it out, allow them time frame to acknowledge that they're interested in that shift, or if they choose to not, if they're not interested, then they can decline that shift, and then it'll go to the next person. As far as the automation goes, you will need to set up the system, and then you will need to physically go and send out those coverage alerts, because we know that there's changes that might happen. Maybe you're backfilling, maybe you're having somebody stay over. So you will need to trigger that notification, and all you have to do is just to send that coverage alert out. And what that does is it'll give you what schedule is open, allow you to send that out simultaneously, or you can use that stagger notification from the system as well. It is bringing people back to the system to sign up for those using that signups feature, but great question. But otherwise, I appreciate your time. Thanks for that question that I just showed you there. As I mentioned, don't be afraid to come take a look for yourself. We can sit and we can learn a little bit more about your needs, and we can get you in that customized demo and be able to show you exactly what the system can do from your perspective. So thanks again for your time. And there are a few handouts in our handout section. Take a look at some of those customer reviews and case studies. And then if you do have any questions, don't be afraid to call that 888 number.